The first jolt comes without warning, a violent lurch that sends coffee splashing across the instrument panel. He grips the yoke tighter, knuckles whitening, and thinks, "This is it. This is how I die." In a metal tube at 38,000 feet, surrounded by people who trusted me to get them home. But he doesn't die. Not yet, anyway. The aircraft shudders again, harder this time, and he feels it in his bones, that primal understanding that something is deeply, catastrophically wrong. Outside the cockpit window, there's nothing but gray, thick, churning gray that swallows the world whole. The kind of gray that makes you forget there was ever such a thing as ground or sky or any distinction between the two. Inside his head, there's a voice screaming in a pitch he didn't know he could reach. It's saying things like, "We're going to cartwheel into the ocean," and "Your mother was right, you should have been an accountant," and "At least it'll be quick, probably, maybe, hopefully." His hands move, anyway, muscle memory. 10,000 hours of training compressed into fingers that adjust throttle, trim, attitude. The body knows what to do, even when the mind has evacuated the premises and is currently sprinting toward the emergency exit of sanity. Another drop. The stomach-falling sensation of an elevator with cut cables. Someone screams in the cabin behind him. He wants to join them, wants to scream until his throat is raw, until someone else takes responsibility for these 217 souls who are, at this very moment, probably praying to gods they haven't thought about since childhood. 217, he thinks. 217 funeral wreaths. 217 families who'll see my face on the news and hate me forever. Dark humor bubbles up, inappropriately. At least I'll be dead too, won't have to read the think pieces about pilot error. The aircraft rolls, 15 degrees, 20. His stomach clenches. This isn't normal turbulence. This is the sky trying to murder them, personally and with malice aforethought. He needs to make an announcement, needs to sound calm, captainly, in control. He rehearses it in his head. "Folks, we're experiencing some rough air. Please remain seated." What he wants to say, "We're all going to die, and I'm sorry, and I hope you made peace with your enemies." His hand trembles, reaching for the button. When he speaks, his voice comes out steady. A miracle. A beautiful lie. The weather radar is a nightmare of red and magenta, cells everywhere. No way around, no way over, only through. Through the mouth of hell with a smile and a beverage service. Another violent shake. The airframe groans, metal protesting forces it was never meant to endure. He thinks about stress limits, about how many G's a fuselage can take before it decides to quit this mortal coil and embrace the sweet release of structural failure. At least we're insured, he thinks, and then hates himself for thinking it. His shirt is soaked through with sweat. The cockpit smells like fear and coffee and recycled air. His brain is too busy composing his own obituary. He seemed fine, competent even. No one suspected he spent every flight one technical malfunction away from a complete psychological breakdown. The yoke fights him. The aircraft wants to roll, wants to dive, wants to do anything except fly straight and level like a good little plane. He muscles it back, arms burning, and thinks about all those disaster movies he watched as a kid. How the pilots always looked so heroic, so composed. Nobody told him it would feel like this. Like drowning in air, like being buried alive in clouds. Lightning flashes. Close. Too close. He sees it illuminate the gray for just a second, and in that second he swears he sees something. A shadow. A shape. God's middle finger extended directly at him. We're going to get struck. We're going to light up like a Christmas tree and fall out of the sky like a rock with regrets. But they don't get struck. The lightning misses. Probably. Maybe. He can't tell anymore. Everything is shaking. The instruments are dancing. The artificial horizon is lying to him. Has to be lying, because there's no way they're at this angle and still flying. Except they are. Still flying. Still alive. His jaw aches from clenching. He forces himself to breathe. In through the nose, out through the mouth, just like the therapist said, just like the training said, just like everyone said, except nobody said it would be this terrifying. The altimeter spins. They're dropping. Not crashing, not yet, but definitely dropping. Losing altitude in gulps of 100 feet at a time. He pulls back, adjusts power, does everything right, and still they fall. This is fine, he tells himself. We're not on fire. Both engines are running. The wings are still attached, probably. Last time I checked, which was 30 seconds ago, but feels like 30 years ago. Time does that in moments like these. Stretches and compresses. A second becomes an hour becomes a second. He's been in this storm for both 10 minutes and 10,000 years. Another announcement forming in his mind. Ladies and gentlemen, we're working through some weather. Translation, I'm working through a nervous breakdown at 500 miles per hour. The aircraft drops again. Someone's carry-on breaks free somewhere behind him. His pulse is a drum solo played by someone having a seizure. But his hands stay steady, because under the panic, under the certainty of death, under the dark jokes and the spiraling thoughts, there's something else. Something stubborn. Something that refuses to quit. Not today. Not like this, that something says. He adjusts course. 5 degrees. Then 10 degrees, following his instruments because the windows show nothing but gray malevolence. Trusting numbers because numbers don't lie, even when every instinct screams that down is up and up is down, and nothing makes sense anymore. The turbulence continues, but differently now. Not lessening, not yet, but he understands it better, reads it, anticipates the drops, the rolls, the moments when gravity takes a holiday and his stomach tries to exit through his rib cage. Minutes pass. Hours. Seconds. Time is meaningless. And then, impossible, miraculous, the gray begins to thin. Not much, just a shade lighter, a suggestion that somewhere beyond this nightmare, the sun still exists. The turbulence eases from catastrophic to merely terrifying. Progress. His breathing slows. His grip loosens. The trembling in his hands becomes less earthquake, more gentle vibration. They're going to make it. The thought arrives quietly, afraid to jinx it. They're actually going to make it. The clouds break. Below them, city lights twinkle like civilization's promise that the world still exists, that life continues, that somewhere down there people are having dinner and arguing about parking and completely unaware that death just brushed past them at 500 miles per hour. Approach. Landing checklist. Gear down. Flaps. Everything by the book, because the book doesn't care that his underwear is ruined and his soul has aged 40 years in 40 minutes. The runway appears. Solid. Real. Beautifully, wonderfully boring. He guides them down. Gentle. Smooth. A kiss of wheels on tarmac that he'll remember for the rest of his life. A landing so ordinary, it's extraordinary. They taxi to the gate. Parks. Sets the brake. Shuts down the engines. In the sudden silence, he just sits there. Breathing. Existing. Grateful for the mundane miracle of being alive. From the cabin, applause. The passengers clapping because they're home, because they have no idea how close they came. How many times he almost gave up. How many times he thought, this is it. Unbuckles. Stands on shaky legs. Will meet them in the jetway with a professional smile. Will accept their thanks like he's actively suppressing the urge to curl into a ball and weep. Now, he smooths his uniform, fixes his face into something resembling composure, opens the cockpit door to the warm, living, miraculous cabin full of people who will go home tonight. He thinks the words he'd say if he could, "Thank you for not dying on my watch." The storm continues clawing at the frame, but it no longer matters. He's through it, survived it, beat it by the thinnest margin. Next time I'm taking up gardening, because dirt, unlike the sky, rarely tries to kill you.